If life is getting heavy, if everything seems to fall apart. If you feel like you've lost people, will and even sense. Then listen to me. You're not crazy. You are a chosen one. And today, you will understand the dark side of this mission. Something that no one has the courage to tell you, hitherto. Do you know that beautiful conversation they tell you about spiritual evolution? That romantic speech that waking up is just peace, love, gratitude and connection. That's that. They forgot to tell you the part that hurts. They forgot to tell you about the dark side of being a chosen one. And, believe me, it is real, intense and often scary. If your life has been getting weird, heavy, if you feel like you're losing people, places, desire, if the world seems to be falling apart around you, calm. You're not going crazy. You are going through a spiritual awakening. And no one told you that, before the light, darkness comes. That before the spiritual transformation, comes the collapse of the old version. And you know what? Few have the courage to talk about it. Because it hurts. Because it's lonely. Because those who go through this experience things that those who are not chosen would never understand. And it is these signs, the true signs of the chosen ones, that begin to mess everything up. Loneliness, spiritual isolation, absurd energetic sensitivity, spiritual attacks. Everything seems to test you all the time. Now, if you realize that your life is full of spiritual signs, strange synchronicities, disconnection with everything and everyone, stay with me here. Because today I'm going to tell you what no one has the courage to say. The hidden, dense and, at the same time, liberating side, of the lives of the chosen ones. No. There comes a time in the lives of the chosen ones when silence becomes more present than any conversation. It's that kind of loneliness that doesn't depend on the number of people around you. You may be in a crowded room, surrounded by people, but it feels like you're on another plane, as if your spiritual energy is operating at a completely different frequency. That's when you start to notice the first symptoms of spiritual awakening. And no, that's not just in your head. This feeling of spiritual isolation does not arise by chance. It is part of the process of spiritual transformation that every chosen one faces. Suddenly, what once made sense, parties, empty conversations, social gatherings, simply loses its luster. The lives of the chosen ones enter a phase of energetic reconfiguration, and everything that is not aligned with their new spiritual path begins, little by little, to dissolve. Do you know that friend who disappeared without explanation? That sudden urge to disconnect from social media. That's that. It's no coincidence. The dark side of the chosen ones begins to reveal itself at this stage. It's hard to admit, but not everyone is prepared to hold your hand as you cross this bridge between old and new. And you know what's curious? This emptiness that appears, this loneliness of the chosen ones, is actually a space that the universe creates for you to reconnect with your own essence. It's as if the universe says, "Hey, look inside. It's time for you to remember who you are." If you feel that your energetic sensitivity is so high that even being in ordinary environments seems uncomfortable, know that this is another of the spiritual signs of the awakening of consciousness. And yes, it is totally normal to feel like withdrawing, spending more time in nature, seeking activities that connect you with your spiritual energy. In fact, at this time, practices such as meditation, reading books such as The Power of Now or The Way of the Magician can be extremely powerful. But, look. If you think that this loneliness is the most challenging point, take a deep breath. Because when you start to get used to it, the universe presents you with another very peculiar symptom of spiritual awakening, something that involves not only moving away, but also starting to be avoided. And, believe me, this moves much more than you think. And then, just when you think you've understood isolation, something comes along that hurts more than any loneliness: rejection. And, look. It doesn't come only from acquaintances, no. Friends of years begin to disappear. That person in the family, who has always been around, suddenly becomes distant, avoids you, judges you, sometimes even criticizes you for no apparent reason. It is as if your spiritual energy begins to become unbearable for those who are not yet on the spiritual path. Sound heavy? Because it is. And it doesn't stop there. Even strangers, amazingly, start to look at you strangely. Have you noticed this? You enter an environment and, suddenly, you feel crossed looks, people uncomfortable just with your presence. This is one of the signs of the chosen ones. Your energetic vibration changes so much that those who are still immersed in the matrix, in the illusion, feel threatened without even knowing why. It is the dark side of the chosen ones showing itself in a naked and raw way. The curious thing is that, many times, you don't even need to open your mouth. Your own spiritual energy speaks for you. It delivers the truth, opens up everything that people don't want to see in themselves. And, of course, the natural reaction of those who don't want to look inside is, move away. Therefore, the lives of those chosen are often marked by this phase of withdrawal. And, my friend, this hurts, but it also liberates. Do you know that talk that, like, attracts? That's that. On the spiritual path it is exactly the opposite that happens in the beginning. Those who vibrate in density cannot stand those who vibrate in light. And the converse, of course, is also true. That's why you feel an almost desperate need to disconnect from certain environments, from certain people, from certain places. And all of this is part of the symptoms of spiritual awakening. But hold on. Because just when you think your emotional has been tested enough, comes another energetic blow that makes anyone doubt their sanity. No, you're not going crazy. You're just about to discover what it's like to live on a real emotional roller coaster in the middle of this intense spiritual transformation that's going on in your life. And then, when you think you've seen it all, your emotional decides to play amusement park. And, of course, without asking you if you wanted this ticket. In the morning, you wake up with a sadness that you don't even know where it comes from. At lunch, there is that absurd clarity about who you are, your spiritual mission, and everything else. And, at the end of the afternoon, shovel. A strange anxiety, mixed with euphoria, appears out of nowhere. Welcome to the symptoms of spiritual awakening. This is not random. This emotional roller coaster is real, intense, and part of the lives of the chosen ones. Your spiritual energy is being recalibrated, adjusted, cleansed. It's as if each emotion comes like a cosmic cleaner, peeling away layers and layers of things you didn't even know were there. And, yes, that explains that crying for no reason, that half-crazy laughter, that desire to disappear, all at the same time. Want a practical example? Have you ever been listening to a song you've always listened to, and suddenly, it makes you cry as if it were the soundtrack of the end of the world? Or to feel such an absurd peace looking at the sky, the wind, the trees. As if, for a few seconds, you remember who you really are. Well, these are signs that you are a chosen one. Your energetic system is literally pushing you to awaken consciousness. And, look. If you're going through this, don't think it's weakness, madness, or drama. This is part of the spiritual path. The dark side of the chosen ones does include this emotional turmoil that no one tells you. Here's a golden tip: start recording your emotions. He takes a notebook, calls it Spiritual Awakening Diary, and, every time these emotional waves come, he writes it down. You will begin to notice patterns, understand cycles, and this brings clarity and relief. But, hold on tight. Because when you think that this inner instability is enough, your perception starts to expand in a way that, my friend, there is no turning back. It's as if you start to see beyond what the eyes can see. And, honestly, not everyone is prepared for this. And then something happens that, at first, seems like a superpower, but which, in practice, is both a blessing and a curse. You begin to see beyond the masks. What used to go unnoticed, little lies, falsehoods, hidden intentions, now jumps in your face like a flashing neon sign. It's as if your energetic sensitivity unlocks a vision that goes far beyond the physical. An energetic reading of people's souls. Do you know that colleague who has always been good people? Suddenly, you realize that his smile is just a facade. And that person in the family, who always seemed loving, begins to cause you a strange, almost inexplicable discomfort. Well, these are clear spiritual signs that you have entered the advanced phase of consciousness awakening. Your intuition becomes sharp, impossible to ignore. This can be scary, especially when you realize that a lot of people you love didn't actually vibrate at the same frequency as you. It gives a mixture of disappointment, sadness and, at the same time, relief. Because, in a way, the dark side of the chosen ones reveals who should really be in your life, and who only took up space in their spiritual energy. Want some practical advice? Start trusting this perception more. Don't think it's paranoia. It is not. It is your spiritual mission calling you to live aligned with the truth, with authenticity. And here's a valuable tip: practice energy cleansing meditations, such as those guided by masters like Muji or Eckhart Tolle, to keep your energy sensitivity balanced. This helps you not to get lost in the middle of this sea of subtle information. And if you think that perceiving what is hidden in people is intense, prepare your heart. Because when the energetic sensitivity reaches its peak, even being in public places, full of people, becomes a true test of spiritual endurance. And, my friend, this changes absolutely everything. And this is where the game really changes. Suddenly, going to the grocery store, taking public transportation, or even attending a simple social gathering turns into a real energy battleground. Loud sounds, crosstalk, noises, smells, looks. Everything begins to weigh in an almost suffocating way. This, my friend, is one of the clearest symptoms of spiritual transformation. Energetic sensitivity reaches such high levels that crowds become practically unbearable. It's as if your spiritual energy field is naked, unfiltered, absorbing everything: anguish, anxiety, anger, sadness. And the worst, these emotions are not even yours. You feel, you perceive, you pick up. Suddenly, he's there, walking in the mall, and his chest tightens, anguish, an absurd desire to run away. And you look around and think, what's going on with me? Simple, they are the signs of the chosen ones manifesting themselves in a blatant way. Want to know something interesting? This is more common than you might think among the chosen ones. Many report that, after spiritual awakening, they simply cannot go to the same places anymore. And when they do, they need real energy survival strategies. And here's a valuable tip: start using crystals like black tourmaline, hematite, or obsidian. They help protect your energy field. In addition, baths of herbs such as rue, rosemary, and basil work miracles. But, look. This is not just about protecting yourself. It's also about learning to choose where to put your energy. The life of the chosen ones is, increasingly, about understanding that not every place, not every person and not every situation deserves its vibrational field. And you know, this is not arrogance. This is spiritual self-care, it is energetic sovereignty, it is living according to your spiritual mission. And if you think that only the external environment weighs you down, get ready. Because, sometimes, you don't even have to leave the house to be swallowed by a wave of deep sadness, followed, out of nowhere, by an explosion of clarity, as if the universe said, "Are you ready for the next step?" And, my friend, this is just the beginning. Oh. And then comes that cycle that few have the courage to talk about. A deep, dense sadness that comes out of nowhere, without warning, for no apparent reason. It is as if, suddenly, a weight falls on your soul. You feel like everything is falling apart, that nothing makes sense. The loneliness of the chosen ones is mixed with that existential question, why me? Why me? And, look. If you're going through this, it's not a sign of weakness, no. This is a real part of spiritual awakening. And then, out of nowhere, without any warning, that crack comes. An absurd clarity, a sense of lightness, of understanding, as if all the pieces of the puzzle fit together at once. It's as if the universe said, "See? I just needed you to clean up this emotional garbage to give you this answer." And of course, you breathe a sigh of relief, for a few days. Because, yes, that roller coaster is back. It is part of the process of spiritual transformation. Want a practical example? Have you ever spent days feeling down, lost, and suddenly, in meditation, on a walk, or even washing the dishes, that powerful insight comes? Like, now I understand why that relationship ended, or now it makes sense that that job fell apart. These are clear spiritual signs that your consciousness is expanding. Here's a tip from those who understand this spiritual path: during these times of deep sadness, don't run away. Do not anesthetize. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to dive into the shadows, because that is where the greatest answers are hidden. Practices such as mindful breathing, therapeutic writing, and even EFT, emotional freedom techniques, can be powerful tools to get through these phases. And, of course, keeping in touch with nature, sunbathing, walking barefoot on the earth. All of this helps your spiritual energy to rebalance. Now, if you think that this roller coaster is already intense, imagine when you realize that. Just the fact of being present in certain places, without opening your mouth, is enough to generate discomfort in the people around you. Yes, your presence starts to bother you. And you don't even have to do anything at all. And suddenly you realize that just existing is a kind of provocation to the world. You don't need to talk, you don't need to move, you don't need to do anything at all. Just being there, present, breathing, and that's it. The environment changes. People get restless, get uncomfortable, change the subject, look at you askance, or simply disappear. This, my friend, is part of the life of the chosen ones. Your spiritual energy speaks long before any words leave your mouth. And do you know what the truth is that no one tells you? Its light is annoying. And it's not because you want to. It is simply because your frequency unintentionally activates the dark side of people. It is as if their energy is a giant mirror, reflecting everything that they avoid looking at within themselves. And, of course, the natural reaction of those who don't want to face their own shadows is, avoid you, reject you, or sometimes even attack you energetically. Do you know that strange situation? You arrive at a place and, out of nowhere, people start whispering, crossing their arms, looking away, cutting short conversations. That's that. These are signs of the chosen ones. And as uncomfortable as it may be, it confirms that your spiritual path is aligning more and more with your spiritual mission. Your energetic sensitivity captures all of this, and although you try to ignore it, your body feels it: tiredness, headache, pressure in your chest, all the result of this invisible energetic clash. Want a golden tip? Start working on your energy protection every day, like brushing your teeth. Golden light visualizations, prayers, mantras, use of protective crystals, energetic baths. All this is no longer optional in the lives of the chosen ones, it is a matter of vibrational survival. And, if you want to raise your shielding even more, I recommend techniques such as Reiki, Ho'oponopono, or even accessing sound frequencies of 528 Hz or 963 Hz, which help strengthen your spiritual energy. But, look. If you think this path is challenging, hold on tight. Because understanding all of this is only half the journey. Now comes the most important thing, recognizing that, despite all these challenges, you were made for this. And yes, this path has never been easy, but it has never been for anyone either. This path was never meant to be easy. But you were made for him. Comment below, I am a chosen one, if that made sense to you. And remember, you were never really alone. Now tell me, after hearing all this, does it make sense or not the strange things that are happening in your life? You realize now that you were never weak, it has never been lost, and much less crazy. You are, yes, a chosen one. And you are going through exactly the signs of spiritual awakening that no one told you. And the big question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge now? You're going to ignore, pretend it's not with you. Or will you face your spiritual mission head-on? Because I tell you something. Ignoring this does not make the pain go away. It only makes it hit harder until you accept that you were born to experience a gigantic spiritual transformation. I want to know, which of these signs impacted you the most? Comment below. Share your experience, because your story may be exactly what someone else needs to hear so they don't feel so alone on this spiritual path. Remember, the chosen ones recognize themselves. And, of course, if this content made sense to you, subscribe here to the channel, activate notifications, because every week there is deep, true and transformative content about spirituality, awakening consciousness, and how to survive, and thrive, on this path of the chosen. You're not alone. It never was. And here, it is your place.